We must all prepare for another attack.
So she puts the sword in the ground and swears on the gods never to fight again. And 1 episode later, she's digging it back up again. She can't commit to anything at all. Welcome back, everybody. We're here for Season 6 of Vikings, and we just had that 2-hour premiere, tons of Vikings content to go through, and now I'm going to look through this preview for what we got for the next episode, because things are about to get a lot more interesting, a lot quicker.
Is this the end? Come and see the wreck of humanity.
So in that first double episode we got to see Bjorn struggle with the idea of whether he should save Harald from his fate with Olaf. Bjorn is desperately trying to be a different kind of king from Ivar. He wants to set his vision, be like Ragnar, and embody a king that's far less brutal than the predecessors, namely Ivar. Though Bjorn became king for very different reasons than a lot of the other characters we see in the series, and so he's struggling to make the hard decisions other characters would make on a dime. So it seems very clear this next episode is going to focus on Bjorn trying to get Harald out and save him from his fate. Now, I really enjoyed the idea of getting to see a lot more of Olaf. He was a really quirky and interesting character that we didn't really get that much of in the previous season. He definitely has his strange ways of doing things, and this will challenge Bjorn a lot because it seems like he's going to get into some peril very quickly. Olaf is a pretty strong figure that was quite decisive in Bjorn winning. Though Bjorn feels like he's got an obligation to save Harald, he also kind of owes Olaf a lot because he did help him in the final battle. So I hope in the next episode we can see Bjorn work through that dilemma as well. So I can definitely see Olaf taking a different approach than a lot of other people would to a hostile army coming to challenge him. He's going to try and win Bjorn over. We saw in the trailer for this season, he wants to make him king of all Norway, which is Harald's goal, which is going to put him in even more stark contrast against Harald. So we could see Olaf is not only going to use some physical attacks on him, challenge him some way, and be this really interesting character in this season, but he's also going to make it a lot more complicated for Bjorn, someone who's already having a pretty hard time making up their mind.
Broken heads, spilled guts, gorged flesh upon a sea of corpses.
Now, I've spoken at length about how much I enjoy Harald as a character, and it's going to be really cool to see him on Bjorn's team yet again. I have no doubt that they plan for Harald to eventually become his historical role of the king of all Norway. And I think during this process where Bjorn has to try and save him, face up against laws, and constantly face these decisions he doesn't like to make, he may realize that kingship isn't really what he wants. So I expect to see the partnership between Bjorn and Harald really grow over this season as they face not only threats from Olaf, but the greater threats of Oleg and Ivar coming with the Rus. Now, if you've been paying a lot of attention to the trailers and teasers they've been dropping for this season, this scene has come up quite a lot with the people in the water and the fire, and we've kind of seen a few glimpses of the characters in there like Bjorn. And now we're getting to see that the person who set this trap that's making it happen is Olaf, and probably due to Bjorn getting caught trying to sneak out Harald. Now we see Olaf in this beautiful nice wood throne, so he seems to be quite prepared and ready for this. So it might not be them catching Bjorn in the act, but rather they've already caught him and they're making him go through some trial, some sort of challenge like that, which come to think of it, doesn't seem that far off what Olaf would do.
We must all prepare for another attack.
Vikings.
So we see that Lagertha has discovered a new threat to Kattegat while Bjorn's away dealing with Olaf. So hilariously, after only 1 episode, she has to backtrack on her oath and pull out her sword again. Just seems like her fate. As we heard in the previous episode, and we saw this little shot of Vic's head with his eyes wide and crazy, he's probably not going to be much help with Kattegat's defense, and so will fall to Bjorn's wife and Lagertha. So it's fairly clear from the dialogue here they have to prepare for another attack, and the first attack was probably what we saw here in the trailer, where a couple of people dying, they have this funeral, and this is what's caused Lagertha to have to revoke her vows, dig up her sword, and become the shield maiden she thought she could drop forever. This threat can be easily coming from the people that Bjorn banished that were loyal to Ivar. We saw them teased at the end of the previous episode, kind of returning and looking at Lagertha. As well, it's quite obvious they're painting them up to be a baddie. Plenty of foreshadowing there. Now, we don't see Uber and Torvi in this preview, but we know he was left in charge by Bjorn, and so he will be there to step up and have some kind of story and adventure, so hopefully we're going to see badass Uber in action yet again.
I'm thinking of Kattegat. What about the invasion?
And lastly, we're going to see the budding relationship between Ivar and Oleg grow even stronger. I quite enjoyed Oleg in that first episode. He's definitely the standout character for the season. Even if Ivar's not adding much to the relationship at the moment, he's such a strong character, he carries it all by himself. So hopefully we'll get to see them kind of planning and going through the politics of the Rus, while the rest of the episode is jam-packed full of action as Lagertha and Uber prepare for the fight against the Banishmen, and Bjorn faces the fire with Olaf. Though, when I heard Ivar bring up the English, I did notice that there was a lack of them in that first episode, and it seems like this season's going to be pretty lacking of them in general, well at least the first half. I always felt Ivar truly shined when he was versing Alfred over his brothers, so I do hope they can use the Rus Vikings and his new gained power to really lead in that direction rather than a pointless conflict at Kattegat. Though, if we're going to be honest, we know they're going to use this half of the season to fill with epic battles between Ivar and Bjorn, and it's probably going to be the second half of the season they focus with Alfred and Ivar. So that's everything we got for this short preview for episode 3. If you guys saw anything interesting in this preview or the episode you might think tells us more about what they're going to do in the coming season, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. It's always really interesting to go through what you guys think and hear your theories. Thanks for watching, and Skål!